At the time of this recording, Warren Buffett has just won a fascinating bet against hedge fund manager Tim Sidez. Essentially, Sidez and Buffett bet that the S&P 500 would outperform a group of hedge funds throughout the period 2007 to 2017. The Oracle of Omaha, as many in the financial industry call Buffett, proved to be right. The S&P 500 outperformed hedge funds with an incredible lead. Hedge funds were able to gain an abysmal 2.2% on average during this 10-year period, while the S&P 500 increased by more than 7%. Some columnists pointed out that Warren Buffett's own Berkshire Hathaway performed even better than the S&P 500. It gained more than 8% annually. However, they forgot to take into account dividends. Berkshire Hathaway doesn't pay dividends, while most S&P 500 companies do. In fact, when dividends are taken into account in the calculation, the S&P 500 beats even Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, which is another proof investors should be buying low-cost, passive portfolios in the long run. Okay, let's not get carried away. Besides a useful comparison between passive and active arbitrage investing, the story I just told you highlights the importance of dividend payments. In the next two lessons, we'll concentrate on dividends, as this is one of the main mechanisms to transfer cash from a company to its shareholders. The other mechanism is share repurchases, which we'll study later on. Okay, perfect. A company can distribute several types of dividends. Regular dividends, paid out to stockholders periodically. For example, P&G typically pays a quarterly dividend. Some other companies pay a dividend once per year. The practice of paying out dividends on a regular basis is usually adopted by mature companies with stable cash flows. Once a pattern of regular payments has been established, the stock price of the company will react negatively if the pattern is interrupted or canceled. Special dividends, on the other hand, are extraordinary dividends the company decides to pay its shareholders. This is done when the business environment is favorable and circumstances allow an extra payment. Special dividends can be paid out by companies that pay regular dividends, but they can also be paid out by companies that do not pay regular dividends. We can also have stock dividends and liquidating dividends. Obviously, stock dividends are dividends paid under the form of stock. They are not very popular because they dilute a company's ownership, issuing new shares, and then give these new shares to existing shareholders, who end up with the same percentage ownership of the firm. Liquidating dividends, on the other hand, are dividends paid at a time when the firm ceases to exist. In this case, shareholders are entitled to the value of the firm's assets, less any liabilities. Okay, great. This pretty much covers the type of dividends we can have. In our next lesson, you will learn about the dividend timeline and each of the steps between declaring a dividend and its actual payment. Thanks for watching.